Welcome to Formula One testing from Barcelona, where the big news we're here to talk about right now is in fact a car that isn't running and may not run until the third day of the test. That's the Williams, of course. We've just found out that after missing day one, it's now looking like they'll miss day two and hoping to get running on day three. Scott Mitchell and Gary Anderson are here to talk to me about this. Now, Scott, you've just written a story about the latest that's happened here. What's going on?
So basically what Williams have communicated is that it's now, I think the quote from Claire was, it's looking more likely than not that they won't hit the track on Tuesday, but their phrasing is that they're looking at getting on track on Wednesday morning at the earliest. So yeah, not exactly a ringing endorsement of their confidence that they will be on track at the start of day three. So it means missing at least half of the first test, 25% of their pre-season running overall. It's really, really not a good start as a blow to their ambitions to bounce back from last year.
Yeah, not good at all for a team that was way off the back by the end of last year. Gary, you've had experience of many an F1 car build. These things do happen, but what are the circumstances that can lead to an F1 team just simply not being ready in time?
Oh, there's many parts in the car, obviously, and you've got to monitor it daily, hourly, even by the minute, as to how those parts are all getting manufactured, finished. See if they're strong enough, all that stuff, all that testing has to be done back at the factory, and obviously they've had a trip up over something, but it's a bit part of the, it's part of the organisation that you have to get this all to happen. There's probably, 200 or 300 parts that could have caused this problem. Any one of them would mean you can't run the car, but you have to recognise that early on and try to fix it before the rest of the, you're supposed to get the car out. Basically 9 teams have got here, one hasn't. And they're going to miss 2 days now of an 8-day test programme. It's 25% of it's gone out the window. And last year, they struggled a bit with the performance of the cars, so they need all the running they can get, and they're not going to get that now.
Bad news, of course, for the driver lineup. Robert Kubica hasn't raced in F1 for a long time. George Russell's a rookie. That's really costly, isn't it?
They've got to regroup, to be honest, and they've got to eliminate a lot of things that we're going to test. George Russell needs miles in the car. He's done some tests with Mercedes. He's done some tests with what's now Racing Point, but Force India then. So he has got Formula 1 mileage. He's not a new boy in town. And Robert Kubica has got Formula 1 mileage, so he's not a new boy in town. But it just hurts the whole programme. You just don't get to the point where you need it to be before the cars head off to Melbourne.
Scott, you mentioned there that obviously Williams coming off the back of a really bad season, one of the worst in its history, you could say. Does a setback like this mean that effectively 2019's doomed already?
It's certainly not a good start. I mean, if they do get out on Wednesday, they can try and catch up. Maybe they'll have to go really aggressive with their testing programme. If they do have a better car than last year, it will mean they have a slightly slower start probably than they would have wanted, but it's still salvageable. So let's not write off the entire season yet. But the big problem is that we're talking about a team that might get on track at the start of the third day of testing, and this sort of stuff doesn't happen with well-funded, safe, reliable modern F1 teams. I think the only time we've seen this in recent years are the new teams that came in and struggled for funding, and their presence on the grid was in doubt every single year. So to see Williams in this situation is very sad indeed.
Gary, what do you reckon? Can a team like Williams, with the history that it's got and the people that it's got, are they capable of bouncing back from something like this?
You've got to believe so, because if you don't, you're beaten before you even start. I mean, I've heard some rumours about this problem basically through my pals in the pit lane, and what they were saying was that Williams would go to a supplier. The supplier would say it'll take us 4 weeks to make that component, or to get that component manufactured, and they were saying, well, we need it in 2 weeks, and they're saying, well, it's impossible to do in 2 weeks. They say, well, we need it in 2 weeks. So they've put themselves in this position, and that is, as I say, it's probably part of the reason that they weren't so good last year as well. It is about organisation. The whole thing is about organisation. And that car sitting on its 4 wheels on the track is the last part of that organisation. And it's, obviously the organisation's fallen down, but to bounce back from losing 2 days out of 8 is pretty difficult. I've been there. We've always had problems. If it's, let's say, one component that the design hasn't come out right, or it's failed in backroom testing as such before going to the track, then it's only one component they're trying to get up to speed with. But I'm sure it's bigger than that, because if you are in that sort of predicament, normally you know how long it'll take you and when it will be ready to go, so you don't just keep on moving it a day every day. So it'll be hard for them, tough.